All right, I am Tony Toich with Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter. I am an Atlanta-based real estate agent trying to help other agents get better at what they do. And today I'm sitting down with a top agent. In fact, one of the top 100 agents in the entire state of Massachusetts, a fantastic agent named Beth Sager. She agreed to sit down with me for 15 to 30 minutes. So, I want to start by saying I am incredibly grateful to Beth because I called her out of the blue. She has no idea who Tony Toich is, and she agreed to take time out of her day to have a conversation to help other agents get better at what they do. So I'm looking forward to this interview. It's going to be a great conversation today. Looking forward to hearing about what she has to say with her insights into the market, where she sees it's going, and some maybe tips and advice for home buyers, home sellers, and maybe a couple little gems to help other agents get better at what they do. Beth, again, I appreciate you being here today. Let's talk about your career and how long you've been in real estate, because I read your bio, and I mean you're, I guess, at least second generation. I know you grew up in it, right, with your family being in
Right.
real estate as a child.
Yes, I did. My parents ran a Century 21 office, and it was mandated that we all get our license. We had jobs there. We had to like clean the office, answer the phone on the weekends, like if people weren't around. It was very hard for a young woman. I was super shy too at the time, so
Mhm.
they're like, just answer, just pick up the phone. So anyways, I completely rejected the business out of hand as something I wasn't interested in. Went to college, went to grad school, was working in hedge funds, started to have kids. We have four children. So I was lucky enough to be able to stay home for several years. And then my husband says, who's going to pay for college? And I was like, oh, like that's me. And four kids, it's not cheap. So I went back to work as a realtor. I really tried to find a job in the travel industry, but that's
Mhm.
never going to pay those kind of bills. I love to travel. So reenacted my license and started working. And I thought, oh, I'll just, my youngest was like 3 at the time. I'm like, I'll just sort of start it. And by the time she's in like third grade, I'll have a business. But as it turns out, I have, all the genes of a good realtor between my parents, and, my business just took off, which is awesome, right? So I went from sort of like saving money from college to, having a really big real estate business. I would say 2 years ago was probably my best year, but that's sort of on the market, but sort of on me too. And, now it's a thriving business. So, and one I generally love, so most of the time.
Okay, and so you talk about from being shy, right? Because in this business, we can't be shy. At what point was it in during your real estate career that you kind of came out of that shell, or was it in your prior work?
I don't know, like probably when I started to have kids or something, maybe it was just sort of advocating on someone else's behalf. Like, I don't know,
Mhm.
but I was so shy and now I'm so not. I mean, I'm still sort of an introvert. Like, I hate the cocktail parties where you walk in and you don't know anyone. Like, I started to like, wow, but I'm like, okay, I need to meet two new people and then I can go home. But on a lot of ways, I am extroverted as far as like, I don't mind picking up the phone. I don't mind cold calling at all, quite frankly. I kind of like calling people I don't know versus people I
Mhm.
know. So not shy anymore.
And that makes sense. Like being afraid, like some people are afraid of the cold call, but on a cold call rejection, it's not your friends and your family rejecting you, it's just somebody completely random. And if they
Right.
unload on you, I'm always like, hey, listen, it's not me they're upset with. There's something going on in their life that's making them take 30 seconds to explode on me. So,
Right.
I kind of always brush that aside. It took a
Yeah,
minute
no.
to get to that point because I was terrified of cold calls, like pit of my stomach, fear. I hated it. And that's how I ended up building my business.
Yeah,
um,
you never know.
so, so yeah, and you talk about kind of just getting into it, and you were top 100 realtors in Massachusetts, correct?
Yeah, I think right now our team was, according to, I don't know, Real Trends or whatever, eighth in last year or the
Wow,
year
that's
before.
awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats to you.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't feel it like, I don't really like notice that. So you
Mhm.
just sort of look up and go, oh, okay, good.
That,
What's everyone else doing? Because
hmm. And when
yeah.
you're in doing the work, it is hard to see from a third person perspective what that's like. So, hey, y'all might want to write down some notes, take some pieces away from this because I'm definitely going to get some ahas here. So let's talk about, I always like to ask superpower, right? That's one of the questions Gary asked. What do you think your superpower
Yeah.
was? Just what drove you? Like for me, it was just my ability to cold call and just do the same activity over and over and over again, no matter the rejection.
So I asked my assistant, like, what is my superpower? Because I'm like, I never really know what to say to that. I mean, I think if you say, like, oh, through the years, it's my ability to sort of talk about real estate without talking about real estate, right? Like, when it comes up, and it always comes up, my ability to sort of show my expertise pretty quickly. My sister will say, I say everything with confidence, whether I know it or not, right? Like it's just sort of part of the deal. But I do feel that my negotiating skills are top notch. And I think, while you're trying to set yourself up for success, being able to show good negotiating stats, I got my buyers these houses, and in our market right now, it's, 100% a seller's market, but being
Mm,
able to say through the years, the buyers only paid 98% of ask, and on the sell side, the sellers got, on average 104%. I mean, I think that's a stat that people, are interested in. It's a lot easier than saying, oh, I'm the number one agent. You know what I mean? Like in what? Like everyone's the number one agent in something. So, right.
exactly right. What metric are you using? And
Right.
now, talking about your it's a seller's market, right? Is your market climbed back to pre-COVID levels? Because it was really in the last probably 6 months that the Atlanta market has climbed to pre-COVID levels.
From an inventory standard, we're nowhere near it.
Hmm.
So we are sort of good school suburbs of Boston. That's our
Hmm.
market. And so we've always been, our market year over year has just been up, 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 up. And then with inventory low, yeah, our prices, I mean, in the town I live in and work in primarily, our average sales price is $1.9 million. So, and it's crazy. You don't get much for that. Yeah,
Wow, I need to
I know.
move.
It's crazy. So,
I don't like the cold weather. I'm not gonna lie, I gotta stay down
yeah,
here.
no.
Um,
No, we're unaffordable. It's not fun. You know what I
uh,
mean? It's just not fun for people. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
But okay, now I want to go back to real quick because you talk about your negotiating skills. Do you happen to have any books that you would recommend on negotiating? Because that's something James Abrams talked about recently is, hey, what books have you read on that subject?
Yeah, I can't say that it's sort of a book smart kind of thing.
It's a skill set, right?
I did really love that negotiating book from the Navy SEAL guy. What I can never remember his name, but
Hmm.
I read the books and I'm
Chris
like, oh,
Voss.
good. Yes. I'm like, oh, good. I'm on the right track, right? Like,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
I just think sort of my superpower is I'm really quick thinking. So,
Hmm.
something comes up and I'm like, oh, you know what? Well, why don't we do that? Well, we could do that. Like, fast and thoughtful to fixing. I
Hmm.
mean, I think our business, like what we do is we fix problems.
Yeah.
That's it,
We absolutely do fix problems, and
right?
your
From
ability to
beginning
think
to end.
quickly and share your expertise with confidence is going to carry over to the confidence your clients have in you.
Right.
Awesome.
100%.
All right. So, and I'm reading one, Negotiating the Non-Negotiable, right now. And it's interesting because he does this experiment where he divides the whole room at this conference into like six tribes, and they have to spend like an hour going through all their belief systems. And then the
Mm,
next step of this experiment says an alien comes in and says, unless all tribes merge into one tribe, the world blows up, and they have to negotiate back and forth,
mm.
but based on, okay, we're going to join this tribe because we're going to merge with these beliefs. Almost every single time the world blows up in the scenario, it's like even in this fake scenario, with belief systems that people just established, they become so ingrained in their thought process. They're like, nope, I'm going to let the world die. We're going to let the world end. And so being able to negotiate is such an underrated skill set that a lot of people just don't have.
I mean, I think it's a difference for sellers and buyers. I work mostly with sellers now, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
being able to get them top dollar, I mean, that's what they're paying me for. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about that. do you have, when you go into kind of that, since you work with a lot of sellers and maybe some tips for agents, how do you handle a seller that's like, hey, I'm going to overprice my home?
I won't take the listing. I
Okay.
mean,
All right.
honestly.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't have any
I
tricks
mean,
for,
I feel like I have a really good sense of pricing, and
mhm,
sometimes obviously it hurts you and you don't even get the listing, right? Because you give them the price and then they're like, "Oh, I mean, I had one woman, I was like, look at 1675 to 169." Oh gosh, no, my husband wants like 1819. I was like, "Okay, well, so she picked someone else who said, that they would get that for her, and then she picked someone else, so she had two realtors, and then she closed at 169,
mhm.
So
Yeah. And that's unfortunate when
I
something
was
like that
like,
happens.
you just want to like say, told you so. But a super overpriced listing, I won't take. If it's 150 over asking, sure, we'll take it. And I'll be like, look it, I'm going to take it at your price, but in 20 days, like we should have sold this house. If we haven't, then you need to do your price reduction, right?
Hmm.
Which I just think is a
Yeah.
big mistake in our market. Like buyers are expecting to pay over asking price. So if you're overpricing your house, you're probably going to end up getting less for your house. And then sometimes you get surprised though when you put a big price on it and you get someone who the buyer's agent doesn't know what they're doing and they offer that price. So, okay,
Mhm.
I went for
Yeah,
the
and
sale.
that, right, we always talk about pricing, right? And like for instance, in your market, 150, I mean, that's like you're talking a 10%, right? 10% over is not that big a deal, especially when it comes down to motivation. So yeah, it's all about how far over price is it? Am I going to take that listing? And that's something to be, off by two, $300,000. Even at that point, that's like, okay, we're not going to get, we won't be able to come to an agreement anywhere, and
Right,
it's not worth your
right.
time for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like they're not listening, right? I mean, I had another scenario with a client. They had an expired listing. They called me in and we talked like for 30 minutes about pricing and comps and all of that. And I was like, 1.5 is where your house is going to sell. And at the end, they're like, okay, so will you take the listing for 1.75? And I was like, okay, we're not communicating here.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
haven't heard a thing I've said. Like, how is this isn't going to go well. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I was like, no, no, I would not take your listing for that. So, I mean, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, you have to really consider if they're not listening and you do it every day and you know your pricing, like what else won't they listen to? And do you really want to get into that headache? So.
And so right now it is like, what are you seeing, agents facing as far as challenges that's, potentially causing them to fail or in this market?
I guess it's partially the market, right? So the market conditions aren't great. And then you have, the whole new real estate rules, which could be jarring for some people. I mean, here at KW, I think we were very well prepared for what was coming. And I think outside of KW, from my interactions with people, they have no understanding of what was coming and how to handle it. And I think, it looked easy, right? This looks easy. This is a really hard business. When people are like, oh, do your kids want to? I'm like, I don't want my kids in this business. Like, this is a really hard business, and very few of us make it, like,
Hmm.
to a good level. So, like, you really have to either have sort of the major skill set, you have to have a lot of things, and a hard work ethic, which I feel like people don't necessarily have and don't understand what it takes to be successful in this business.
Absolutely.
So,
They don't see us, all of the balls we're juggling behind the scenes and what's going on, the plates we're spinning and, all the fires we're
right,
putting out. Yeah. And
right,
they're not prepared. They're really not. And the agents that are going outside of, to other, they see this, oh, it's a cheaper split. I'm not paying as much, but, not 0% of zero is still zero, right? So paying that
right,
extra commission for
right.
the education is,
And
you
they,
can't put a
yeah,
value on that.
and they don't appreciate like how much work you have done through the years to get your name out there. Like it's not instantaneous, right? I
Hmm.
mean, it takes a
It,
long time to get a good reputation with, the towns you work in, your fellow agents, right? To make sure like you're working well with them so that they want to take your buyer, right? Like, I mean,
hmm.
that
Absolutely.
has, come up. So, and it's not easy. You really have
No.
to dig deep and work every day. I mean, we're in the office Monday through Friday, like 8 to 5. So, and that's beyond whether we work weekends or not, right? So,
Hmm.
like, there's no one in my office, right? Like, there's like maybe two other small groups, I'm like, where is everyone? Like, like, how are they working? You just
And then
have
so
to
you
really
have a team,
small
right?
team.
As far as building your team, is there a point in your career that you feel was the hardest transition? And I just kind of threw that question out of left field because it was
Yeah,
something I was thinking about.
no. So you go through a lot of people, right? Like I've gone through several admins. Some of them have become realtors, some of them just are like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I think, every time you have to go back and restart with someone, it's really hard. That's a hard transition. So my buyer's agent, my like core buyer's agent and my core admin have been with me for 5 years, and it's like I don't ever want them to leave, right? Like we've got a well-oiled machine going on. Like
Hmm.
every time you have to restart something like that, it's hard. Those are big
Yes, and
transitions.
I completely understand because like right now I'm onboarding a video editor. I'm going full in on like the Ken Posick model, YouTube channel. And so I'm, getting them to do what I want because I'm a former filmmaker. I know how to edit. I'm like, up here, right? Why can't you make that happen
Right.
right now? And so
Yeah.
it's difficult and once you get that going, it's like great. So it's always, yeah, getting someone
Yeah.
started new is tough. So any quick tips or best advice right now for this market for home buyers, home sellers? Either one, whatever you.
Home buyers and home sellers. I mean,
Hmm.
for sellers, don't overprice your house. And I mean that is like the key to everything for a home seller right now. And
Hmm.
for buyers, it's not as bad as it looks, right? But you can afford a house. I mean, it might not be the perfect house for you, but it's way better than renting. So do it.
Absolutely, because especially if you're talking about a market like yours, where it's a seller's market, and if people are used to paying over list, then you're probably seeing above average appreciation. So the sooner you get in the market, the better, because then that's going to appreciate, and you can roll that
Yeah.
over into the next one.
Right. I mean, we've had people who've been looking for a house for like 2 years. I'm like, the market, especially 2 years ago, I'm like, it's gone against you 25%. I get it. You were looking for the perfect house, but now, like, really gonna get into a house. I don't understand that. Like, if you can't find a house in 6 months, you're probably not really looking for a house. So,
You're not really that serious.
so,
So then, as far as buyers and sellers, do you have any? I'm just going to throw this out there. Maybe you don't have it, but I always ask, do you have like a fun buyer seller tip at the closing table? I always like to tell my clients, hey, or at the closing table, first thing you do when you're moving, the day you're moving in, is make your bed because you don't want to be moving all day long and it'd be 1 o'clock in the morning and you want to go to
uh,
sleep. And all of a sudden, you still got to make your bed, you got to shower, you want to get cleaned up and crash. Right? And people love that at the closing. Like other agents are always like, I'm going to start using that tip. Like, do you have
that's a
anything
good
like
one.
that?
That's a good one. I wish I did. I might start using it too. Yeah, I'm always like, get your snowplow guy immediately. Oh,
Hmm. So
so
there you go.
that's
Okay.
important up here. You don't have that, but it's really
Hmm.
hard to find a snowplow guy in our area. So
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's not something.
That's crucial.
That's not a Georgia thing. We don't need to worry about
No, you
that.
don't need to worry about that, but we do. So
Mhm.
that's the key person for your winter, for your people in buying a house here. Find the
Mhm.
snowplow guy. So.
Awesome. So, any other thoughts that you have off the top of your head? Anything you like to thinking about the market or for buyers, sellers, real estate in general, or something you'd like to share?
I mean, it's a great business, right? Like everyone's different. The stories are interesting, right? Every couple of months you have new clients and all their foibles and, I just sort of like, being part of someone's life in such
Mhm.
a, personal way, right? Like for some reason you're the only one, that all of a sudden you're looking at someone's house with them as a seller or whatever, and you're standing in their bathroom, right, for 10 minutes chatting. Like, it's just sort of really intimate and personal and exciting and all of those fun things. So I just,
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it is. You really, you're part of people's lives when you're helping them, find their home where they're going to make memories, potentially raise families, where they lay their head at night. That's never going to be lost on me. Just how special that is. So, we're not just out there to make a buck. We get, attached to our clients, and my clients for life. Well, perfect. I appreciate your time. I'm truly grateful for your time.
no, thanks for reaching out. I appreciate it. So
Absolutely.
happy
I'll
to
stay
be
in
on your
touch. Happy
list.
holidays.
Yeah, same to you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Take care. All right. So I think one of the great ahas for me. A moment that where Beth talked about she used to be super shy, and at a certain point that went away, and she is now one of the top agents in her state. We're the top eight, right? And it's hard to imagine that transition, right? Especially when you're getting started as a realtor, and you might be scared, a real estate agent, realtor, whatever you're doing, and you might be scared, might be intimidated, and ultimately you can't be a secret agent. You can't let your fears stop you from achieving your goals. Like I mentioned, I used to be terrified of the cold calls, and I got through that because I did the work. And eventually that fear goes away. It's how bad do you want to achieve that goal? That's my question for you. And if you want it bad enough, you can have the success you have, because success is on the other side of I don't want to. I don't want to door knock. I don't want to make that cold call. I don't want to do the work. And when you do that work, you'll find that success. Another thing Beth talked about was she was able to share her expertise quickly and confidently. And the ability to do that carries into the conversations you're having with your clients, potential clients, and future clients in such a way that you can't fathom. So by doing the work, by doing the market research, by doing your script rehearsal and role play, that's going to help you get better at what you do. I think one of the other ahas that Beth mentioned is so many agents are not prepared for the work involved. You have to be ready to work hard in this business. It's not easy. You don't see the balls getting juggled, right? You don't see us spinning the plates in the background, us taking the phone calls at dinner time, missing out on parts of holidays, because this business is a tough business. Eventually, you get to the point where maybe you don't have to do that. And if you set expectations with your client, you don't have to do that as well. And that's part of the game, right? Setting up client expectations. And when we understand that, you set boundaries for them, then maybe you're not answering your call on the holidays. But you do need to be prepared to do the work. So Beth, once again, thank you. I appreciate your time today. I definitely came away with some great gems, and I'm really excited about sharing this video. That being said, I'm Tony Toich with Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter, an Atlanta-based real estate agent, doing my best to help other agents get better at what they do. And just to make it a little bit funner, I pay 35% referral fees to all my referral partners. I believe in delivering Disney level service, creating raving fans, and clients for life. They will not slip through the cracks. After we close the deal, I still call them every single quarter. That's the dedication to my craft that I have. If you want to be a top agent, that's probably the dedication you want to have to your craft and your profession as well. Stay motivated.